All right, welcome everyone. Happy Friday. And thank you for joining us for the last day of the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connections Social Connection Awareness Week Summit. Again, my name is Suzanne Morley, Health Promotion Program Coordinator with the Wisconsin Institute for Healthy Aging and coordinator of the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection. So today is unfortunately the last day of our Awareness Week Summit. Tomorrow is the official end to Social Connection Awareness Week. And the conversation for today is all about using technology to advance connection. So we're going to share some resources and talk about ways to stay connected after the close of Social Connection Awareness Week. Few housekeeping pieces. All participants will be muted and have their cameras off during the presentation. If you would like to access the live captioning, please click on the CC icon on the bottom toolbar of your screen. This webinar is being recorded and an email will be sent out to all registered participants after the presentation. We will have some time for Q&A, so please hold questions until the designated Q&A portion of the webinar. To kick us off, I would like to invite everyone to introduce yourself in the chat. You can use your name, your organization, if you're here as part of an organization, and just share how you use technology to connect socially. So how do you use technology for social connection? I'll start. I typically or mainly use technology for social connection. I think I mainly use text messaging and Snapchat to message my friends. I think one of the biggest things I do is pretty much every day, me and my best friend, Melissa, we are sending each other messages, sending each other pictures of our kids, kind of just sharing what is going on in our lives. So I don't think without technology, our relationship would probably be as strong as it is since we are able to connect every single day using technology. So I'll kind of just wait for some responses to come through before I go through the agenda. So I see FaceTime with family. Facebook keeps me connected to friends and family around the country. Yep, love that. Sending text messages mostly. Text messages, Facebook, Instagram, social media for extended circles, as well as Marco Polo for working with family. I haven't heard of that. If you want to expand on what that is, that would be great. Coming in fast now. Interact a lot with Fantasy Football League members through those apps. Sounds like my husband. Stay connected to friends and family in other states via social media and texting, using WhatsApp. Constant contact. Yep, that's a great way, especially with working, to keep coalition members and supporters engaged. Text and Facebook and LinkedIn. Awesome. Some great tools and strategies to use technology to stay connected. Well, today we're going to kind of kick off, before we get into the panel discussion, we're going to share a little bit of ways to get involved. So as we're wrapping up Social Connection Awareness Week, I will share some of that, and then we'll get into our kicking off our panel discussion. Again, we'll have some time for Q&A and discussion and wrap up for the week. So we've been talking about this a little bit throughout the whole week, but this nationwide network of champions. This is run through Commit to Connect, which is a national organization that works on social connection activities similar to and supports what we do as the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection. We do have a private Wisconsin community on here, so I wanted to go a little bit further into the nationwide network of champions so you can kind of see it, if you haven't already, what it looks like on the back end, and really encourage you to join that. So once you join and become a member, this is what it looks like after you log in. It really is for anyone that's working in this space. So working to reduce social isolation and loneliness and support social connection. So there's a number of different resources on here and ways to be engaged on the nationwide network of champions. So you can connect with other people. There's a member directory. You can collaborate with the discussions. You can explore the resources and learn more by visiting the blog page. I'm going to highlight a few things here. At the top here, you'll see communities, and I'm going to go to my communities. And basically, this is pretty similar for everyone. If you do join, like I said, You will be automatically added to the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connections private community. It may take a few days, but you will get in there. And then there's the open forum. So I'm going to click on the open forum first. And here you'll see that there's a number of different discussions. So there's new additions to the Social Engagement Innovations Hub, sharing about webinars. There's a discussion about Ageism Awareness Day, some resources. There's a thread about measuring outcome evaluation. So it's really just a place where you can pose questions, like for example, about how to measure an intervention or how to get people engaged in an online program. And then you can also share webinars. You can learn about webinars that are happening. So it's a really great way to stay engaged with people throughout the nation. And then our private Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection, we do have a discussion here as well. You can post your own message with people just in Wisconsin. If you want to share an event or a resource in Wisconsin, you can do that here. You can go into any of the threads that are already here and respond to them. You can share resources in the library. Really great way to stay connected with people in Wisconsin through this discussion board as well. The other area I want to highlight is this discussions area. So it's all discussions. I'll go here. And this is kind of an expanded community open forum. So you can see here, going back a few months of the different discussions that were posted. So it's really mainly an online discussion forum. So think of it kind of as a Facebook for social connection awareness opportunities. So you can see here there's a whole thread about access to technology and virtual opportunities. Funding announcements are on here as well, different work groups. So good opportunity to see some of that. The other opportunity on here is to view resources. You can view different resources that have been shared. Some of these are funding opportunities, some are webinars, graphic here about the benefits of eating with others. So different resources that you can use in your own community, and you can sort those as well. Events, you can check out if there's any upcoming events, which currently there are not, but there might be some upcoming events here. And then I wanted to highlight this directory as well. So you can view here, you can look at the list of different organizations that are involved. If you're looking at getting feedback from someone in a different state, you can see if they're on here, or even scroll this down a little bit further into Wisconsin. So you can see here, there are many, many people and organizations already in Wisconsin that are involved in the Nationwide Network of Champion. So you could even look through here and see who's all connected and maybe reach out to an organization in your area that you want to learn more about or get connected with. So it's a really good opportunity, like I said, to just network with others, not only in Wisconsin, but throughout the nation. So I wanted to share that as a resource as well. Then we have the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection. So we shared this at the beginning of our week on Monday, but I also wanted to go briefly through our Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection website. So I'm going to bring that up. So it's connectwi.org. We have resources for older adults and people with disabilities to learn more about what social isolation and loneliness is, ways that you can connect with others here. So maybe starting a new hobby, taking a health promotion class. I know Angie Sullivan from GWAR was sharing quite a bit about the health promotion classes on Monday during her presentation, and even the benefits of those virtual health promotion classes. Joining a facility, visiting a neighbor, just some different tips and tricks to stay involved. There's a self-evaluation here that you can take if you are looking at evaluating your social connection, and other resources. And then we have other resources for professionals. So we have a page on data and research, awareness resources, connection resources, measurement resources, and our coalition resources as well. I'm just going to go through. Let's check out our awareness resources page. So we have different graphics and tools here. This is where all of the resources for our Social Connection Awareness Week are housed. Next week, you'll find all the webinar links here if you want to go back and listen to any of those. Governor's Proclamation, we have newsletter article, press release, graphics here that you can use in your own social media pages, newsletters, whatever it might be. You have additional graphics that can be used. There's some more press releases and some toolkits here, some other different strategies that you can use. Again, you can go on the About and kind of learn about our coalition participation. So we have our network, we have our coalition, which you can find more information about, and what ad hoc committees we are currently working on. So we currently have our awareness ad hoc, our measurement and evaluation ad hoc, and our policy champions committee. So if you're interested in getting more involved in any of those, you can email us. And then we also encourage you to join our coalition by either signing up for the newsletter, signing as an individual or an organization. So I encourage you to go through our website in a little bit more detail as well to stay involved after the Awareness Week Summit. And Erin is going to drop the link in the chat for joining the Nationwide Network of Champions and for our website. The other resource I wanted to share, we talked about this briefly on Wednesday, but just as a reminder, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA grant program, there was 37 awards that were made in May of this year for 2 grant programs related to social isolation and loneliness and livable communities. So there's a number of grantees that are currently working on this. You can see that on the map, and Erin will drop the link for this in the chat as well. And if you're interested, if there's a coalition or organization already working on this near you, I encourage you to reach out to them and learn about what they're doing and how you can get involved. Many organizations have local coalitions as well, whether it's an aging coalition or a CHA or CHIP coalition with the health department. I encourage you to reach out to your local Aging and Disability Resource Center or public health department to learn more about what coalitions are in your state so that you can continue this work. Another opportunity I wanted to share to provide feedback is to give feedback to the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection. So Erin is going to drop a link in the chat for our year-end survey, and really want to encourage you to share your voice about coalition activities, feedback on the connectwi.org website, and kind of just tell us what you're interested in learning more about or how you want to get more involved. So that's a short survey that we'll leave open for about a month or 2 so we can kind of learn from you all, whether you've been a part of the coalition for a couple of years or you're a new member really just wanting to know where your interests lie. So switching gears here to our conversation today about technology, I want to kind of paint the picture of the kind of where we're at with technology. So some of this data on the screen here comes from, again, that Surgeon General's report, Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation. So 75% of adults ages 65 plus use the internet. And although tech adoption is relatively high among all groups, Americans with disabilities, adults with lower incomes, and Americans from rural areas continue to experience a persistent digital divide, although that is shrinking slightly. These populations are relatively less likely to own a computer, a smartphone, or a tablet, or have broadband internet access. Technology has evolved rapidly, and the evidence around its impact on our relationships has been kind of complex. So each type of technology, the way in which it is used, the characteristics of who's using it, really needs to be considered when determining how it might contribute to greater or reduced risk for social disconnection. So there's multiple research reviews examining this topic that identify both harms and benefits. So several examples of some of the harms of technology include that it displaces the in-person engagement, it monopolizes our attention, reduces the quality of our interactions, and can even diminish our self-esteem. So this can lead to greater loneliness, fear of missing out, conflict, and reduced social connections. So for example, maybe you're with someone and you're trying to have a conversation with them, but they're on their phone. They're looking at their phone the whole time that you're trying to have a conversation with them. So that really does decrease that social connection with those individuals, between parents and children, between family and friends. It increases distractions, it reduces conversation quality. and lowers self-reported enjoyment of time spent together in person. So that quality of those social connections, those social relationships. There are, however, several examples of benefits with technology that can foster connection by providing opportunities to stay in touch with friends and family, offering other routes for social participation for those with disabilities, and creating opportunities to find community, especially for those marginalized groups. So for example, there's online support groups that allow individuals to share their personal experiences and to receive and provide social support, including information, advice, and other emotional support. We saw this come up quite a bit post-pandemic, or during the pandemic, I should say, but lots of programs went online, lots more opportunities, and people using things like FaceTime or social media to connect with people that they weren't able to see during the pandemic. So some of the positive impacts, it really just allows us to stay in touch, like a lot of us were sharing in the chat at the beginning. And we really should support the development of pro-connection technologies to promote healthy social connection, create safe environments, and then safeguard the well-being of users. So before we jump into our panel discussion, we're going to launch one poll. So Aaron, I'll jump that on. The poll question here is, I'm aware of technology programs that help to provide social connection for older adults and people with disabilities. So we'll give some time for that. We're in about 5 more seconds here. Kind of split almost right down the middle. So yes, 37%, no, 30%, and somewhat 33%. Thank you for participating in that. All right, I'm going to turn it over now to Helen Sampson with the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, Bureau of Aging and Disability Resources, and one of our Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection members to moderate our panel for the day. Helen, take it away.
Thank you, Suzanne, and good afternoon and happy Friday to everyone. I am delighted to be with you today to talk about technology and mostly to hear from our experts, because I was one of the somewhat people. So I've also had the great privilege and joy of being the coordinator for the ARPA grants, and a number of our grantees are looking at technology as a way to encourage and create the opportunity for more social connection. So this is going to be a wonderful learning opportunity. So I would like to start by inviting our panel to introduce themselves. Just tell us your name and a little bit about your organization. And let's start with you, Josiah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Josiah Groth, and I work with Opportunity Development Centers in central Wisconsin. And we provide a wide suite of services to the disabled population of central Wisconsin. And currently, I am leading one of the grant projects that Helen is alluding to or talking about here. We're looking to create a pipeline where we move devices from business and refurbish them and get them into the hands of the needy rural population, elderly and disabled specifically. And so that's what we're looking to do. And that's why I'm happy to be here and to talk with you. So thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Josiah. Kristen and Chris are together, and and introduce yourselves, please. I think you have to unmute. There you go.
There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kristen Hecht. I'm a public health specialist with the Wauwatosa Health Department. And we have been working hard on digital equity really after the pandemic. We noticed what the lack of digital connection did to our older adult population, and how it severely impacted every social determinant of health and therefore really impacted their connectivity, their financial health, their mental and physical health, how they participated in our community. And we really have been striving to overcome that deficit in our community. Since we've had these two programs, both Senior Planet as well as TOSA Tech Time, which is a one-on-one technology assistance program, we have served over 500 different contacts in our community in a very short period of time. So we know that the need is pretty great. So, and we're striving to reduce that inequity that we're experiencing.
And I'm Chris Geisel, and I've been a participant in the Senior Planet classes that Kristen's group has presented here at Wauwatosa. And I find it extremely helpful because I was more, can't say afraid, but a little timid to use any kind of new technology without somebody sitting there and telling me exactly what to do. So, you know, through those classes, at least I've been able to know what some of the new technology is and be able to use it, or at least feel comfortable trying it without thinking I'm going to blow up the whole phone system. So I find that extremely helpful. And I've also met a few new people in the classes. So it kind of gets me out and gets me involved with various people in the area.
That's so wonderful that you're able to be with us today, Chris, because, you know, where it lands is what we really need to understand. So thanks so much for being here, ladies. And last but not least, Christy.
Hi, I'm Christy Schooneman. I'm a self-advocate leader with People First Wisconsin. Since 2020, I have worked with the Living Well Project at the Wisconsin Board for People with Developmental Disabilities. I've worked on self-advocacy and rights education, and I've also been in a video series called Know Your Rights on the Self-Determination channel. Now I'm a peer mentor with Aptive, which is based in Janesville, and have been mentoring over Zoom. I'm also a board member for Creative Community Living Services here in Watertown.
Well, welcome, Christy. We really have a rich experiences to share on this panel. So I'm very excited that you're all here. So let's start with just a basic wide brush. How does the program that you are implementing or involved with really increase social connection? And since we had sort of a round robin, I'm going to go backwards this time and have you start, Christy.
Okay. Peer mentoring is all about connecting. It's about giving people with disabilities the chance to set goals for themselves and talk to someone who has faced the same or similar challenges as them. No matter what their goals are, the steps to achieving their goals is always going to lead to more community involvement and connections, whether it's taking a class or learning a new skill or just feeling like they deserve to dream big. It gives people with disabilities permission to be seen and heard and to go find the people that will help them on their journey. Some goals that people set when doing peer mentoring are getting a job in the community, making more friends, having a romantic relationship, starting a new hobby, moving out of their family home, or going back to school. All of these goals mean that people with disabilities would get to meet and interact with people both with disabilities and without. And I decided to pursue peer mentoring because I wanted to share my stories to help other people learn to use their voice and share their stories. Because I started out as a very quiet, reserved person, and now I love sharing my experiences.
That's terrific. Practice makes perfect, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about the social connections that have been created from your peer mentoring?
Yeah, I mentor mainly over Zoom, And that really gives us a private space
Mm,
to connect and not like we've made it a point to have their service person or whoever they're living with not in the discussion so they can talk about deep private things if they need to and have somebody that really understands.
terrific. Thanks. Okay, Kristen and Chris, how does the program you're involved with create or increase social connection?
Well, like most people or many people during the pandemic, it was quite easy to become isolated or by choice or just the circumstances. And so Senior Planet classes, because they're live, at least here in Wauwatosa, we're doing live ones. It, forced me to get out and actually sign up for these classes and be with other people. And they're about an hour and a half long. So be with other people, interact with other people, and kind of get used to being back out in the public, if you will. The classes can be taken online, but I take them all here at the center. So it just forced me to get back out there and see what really is available and not just be isolated at home.
Do you want to add anything to that, Kristen?
I would love to. Yeah, I think one of the primary things that we do in our classes is I often say we hide connection in technology. So whether somebody needs one-on-one help with their personal device and they come out and meet in our library with a college volunteer who will help them where they are with whatever need they have that intergenerational engagement with somebody in the community that they had no idea even existed, or they come to our Senior Planet, which are group classes. I think one of the great things is that our residents are being encouraged to not become dependent prematurely. They gain such a great sense of empowerment and independence because of those interactions, that transcends into their confidence of being out in the community, re-engaging and maintaining engagement with friends and family. One of the greatest successes I saw, we did a class on how to properly use emojis, and we made everybody text a loved one during that class. And it was really a lot of fun when you can see people go, oh, I just sent my grandchild a, smiley face, heart eyes emoji. And they responded back with like, way to go, grandma. And so not only are they in a group class that's safe and comfortable, they have that interaction that's a little more private, like with a family member, but then you see them leave the class a little bit lighter in their shoes, a little bit more confident in their skills, a little bit more empowered and not feeling like they're being left behind in a world that oftentimes they'll feel like they have no place in or no part of. So there's a lot of dimensions, I think, to that connectivity that we see as a result of those classes.
Wow, that's a lot of layers there for sure. And I love the emoji example. That just made it all very real for me. Because, I've gotten some feedback on using the wrong emojis sometimes.
Hence the class.
I don't live too far from you guys, so I may be on my way.
We would love that, Helen.
Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you. So how's this question landing for you, Josiah?
Well, we're directly involved in getting technology into the hands of the rural elderly and disabled population. So it's directly central to what we do. And just to go backwards a little bit, I just learned that now BSF and BF mean best friend and boyfriend. So when I was young, BF was boyfriend, but now it's all different now. And so learning emojis it's a constant battle. So but back to the point, I think that what we do is threefold. And so we really try to get that device in people's hands. And so without that device, without access to the actual technology, they have a stop right at the beginning of the whole process of connecting. And so it's really central just to have the physical access. And that's really important for people. Mainly what I am doing is I'm connecting organizations as well. And it is amazing to me how many organizations touch the lives of people in rural communities. And we all have resources, we all have skills, but just bringing a conversation at the organizational level to help people connect in their intentionality of support is really uplifting. It's really amazing. There's so many people out there doing good work, and just finding a way to have a conversation, we can really enhance the good that we're all doing. And so, and then I guess the last way that I think really is, once somebody has a device, once somebody has access, then we are hooking them up with training opportunities and giving them a path where they can actually go out, get out of their house and go learn something, where they can get providers to step in and help them. And it might not be exactly, getting online, which is of course what we're really looking to do too. But even that secondary step of, oh, now I have a service provider that I can meet with, or, oh, now I have an excuse to go to the library and take a class. It really helps people with just getting out and stopping from just sitting at home all day.
So I heard a number of things from what you all said, and I'm having the image of, being a new driver in my head. It's like first you need the vehicle and then you need the lessons, right? And then you need the practice, because teenagers are not great drivers when they first start. Let's face it. So it's those three things that have to come together to allow for folks to really enhance their ability to use technology. Yeah, awesome work. Awesome. Any thoughts coming up just from what I said around those three pieces of the vehicle, the training, and the practice?
Well, initially, I immediately go to technology is a lifestyle, and it's definitely a new lifestyle for the young, hopefully for everybody, but it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's another question, and we'll start in the middle just to shake things up in the middle of my screen. What are the benefits of using technology for connection, and what might be the challenges? So, Kristen and Christy, Chris, sorry, there's a lot of the K words here, K names.
Yeah, I think obviously I think the benefits are just so multifold, and in public health, we're often working with older adults who are, the challenges that we see are tremendous, and I could probably monopolize the entire discussion today on the challenges that we face, but we see it having mental health impacts with people not being connected. We see financial impacts when people are not connected, or their level of knowledge is such that it enables them to be slightly connected and at great risk for being the victim of a financial scam. Some of the challenges too are even in our own healthcare systems, as we eliminate people in healthcare centers to check people in, and we put up QR codes instead of a human being, and a person doesn't know how to use a QR code and then misses a medical appointment that they've been waiting 8 weeks to attend. What does that do to people? I think some of the benefits are that we do allow people to have greater connection in different ways. And although we would always prefer that a connection be one-on-one and face-to-face, in a more global world, the world in which we live, that being connected does offer you the chance to be connected with loved ones who are, a mile away or 3,000 miles away. those are great benefits. I also see that sense of personal responsibility, that personal engagement, that perspective of having access to a world that otherwise you would sit on the outskirts of and feel like you weren't worthy, or you weren't educated, or you didn't have the economic resources to be part of, and how dangerous and detrimental that is. I think being able to overcome that, like what Josiah is doing, what Christy is doing, where you provide somebody with the device as well as the pathway to learn how to use it, that's like a full circle opportunity and a great benefit of connectivity, is keeping people in the loop of the world, the way that the world seems to be moving. So
I think there's quite a bit of benefit, even for those of us who don't use a lot of it, but just even keeping in contact with my grandkids who are teenagers. You know, I can send them out a quick text, where if we were back in the days of just phone calls, I'd probably never talk to them because they wouldn't answer. So you can keep in contact with them. I can keep in contact with my son easier, because he'll look at his text messages before he'd answer the phone, I'm sure. So I find that helpful, even with friends or trying to get a big group together. You know, all that is much easier with the technology. Although I do find that I'm challenged with a lot of, like, even though we have class on QR, I'm still not very good at it. I have a lot of pictures of QR codes. I don't know. Instead of actually connecting to them. And the other thing I find is in the medical world now, where they have this online doctor visits, or even about 3 months ago, I was in the not urgent care, but I had to go walk-in clinic, and they told me, "Oh, you should do this online." I felt like saying, "Yeah, that would be great if I knew how to use it." You know, I didn't say it, I was just thinking it. So I find these classes that Kristen's having, again, a good opportunity for me to either learn the product, or if there's not a class about it, at least trying it instead of being so afraid of everything. And I do agree that some of the technology has a downfall, because I don't think my kids could order food on a tech by calling on the phone. If they didn't have the ability to order online, I swear they'd starve. I've listened to them talk on the phone, and it's quite comical. They don't quite know how to do that. So I think there's benefits and drawbacks, but I'm thinking the benefits probably for at least the younger generation outweigh the drawbacks.
Well, I've heard it said that our technological evolution always outpace our social and moral evolution. You know, so we're always catching up with how do we make sense of this, and how does it work to our best advantage. And I loved what both of you said, Kristen. Just I hadn't thought about the nature of belonging. And if you are so out of the loop of this really huge piece of our social fabric, that sense of belonging is going to get seriously dinged, you know?
and
Wonderful. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I had somebody, as an example of that, somebody came into our office who had recently lost their spouse. And the spouse was the primary person who handled the technology, I guess the cell phone. And that person said to me, you know, since my spouse has died, our friend group, they will only text to make plans. They don't call or stop by. And so I've been excommunicated from all the activities because I don't know how to use the technology. And I thought, right there, that says it all. Like, you know, this person lost their person and this entire group of connection. So their whole social circle is now eliminated because of their not wanting to learn how to use technology. And I think that is frightening to me, because that person's whole support system is now eradicated. So, you know, but there's also a level of human responsibility and personal responsibility to become an agent of that and desire that in your life. And that's hard too, to overcome and to convince people that this is the way we're going, and that human connection. So I see that kind of circling back as one of our challenges too, is to convince people that it's okay and that there is a way to do this safely and how important it is to maintain your social connection and your social circles. But it's a
Right.
choice too.
Well, and it's also really human to be fearful of the unknown. So part of what's in play is just our basic humanity, you know. And in the case of the gentleman or the person who lost their spouse, we that's also really typical. We divide and conquer our chores, right? In partnerships. And so now he's going to have to, if he wants that. Um, there are things I will not want to do at that juncture. Okay, who did I leave off at? I think I'm going to Josiah for this question and then Christy. Or did I already do that? See, I got myself confused.
No, but that sounds good to me.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, I love and second everything that Kristen and Chris said. Like it really comes down to the humanity of it, and that's true. I guess what I can add is that specific to my project is that one of the things we're doing is we're developing categories for training, and we have identified the things that are most common. What does somebody who hasn't been able to get online want to do the most? And we're calling it Elderly Connect. And so basically, what do they love to do? What do they need to do? They want to connect with their families. And so the first thing that they'll do in that, once they get access to online, is they want to use pictures. They want to text and email their friends and family. And then they want to connect with social media. And so I'm speaking at it from a more technical point of how do we organize systems and how do we create training that's relevant. But really, it comes directly back to the humanity of loneliness, isolation, and our urge to connect with people. And so I find that really fitting and really beautiful, at the end of the day. I guess maybe I could add that the barriers are indeed the learning technology. And I did put in chat the name of a book that's not perfectly relevant, but it's about generational transitions. And if anybody really has a passion for understanding the way that culture moves through generations, the Neil Howe books are fantastic. But the other thing that I might say is that just providing rural people with the access to the World Wide Web, the amount of physical barriers and financial barriers that cuts through, when it's successful is tremendous. I have a large history in yoga and Eastern philosophy, and we use the word kapha, which is where we come with the word cough. So cough, and what it represents is it represents a stickiness and a lack of motion and an inertia of that stagnates. And so when I think of this process of how rural communities create stagnation and lack of motion and all of these barriers, the internet cuts through all of that. And getting people access to the internet is really phenomenal, and it just makes so many things accessible that it's amazing. It's a great technology.
Thanks so much, Josiah. I love that. I'm going to remember kapha. So what are your thoughts, Christy, in terms of the benefits and the challenges of technology for social connection?
I agree with everything that's been said as well. But so far, like I said, I've done a lot of my peer mentoring sessions over Zoom. So using technology to connect with mentees means that we get to avoid a lot of the barriers that would stop someone from getting to be involved in mentoring. For like myself, being a person with a wheelchair, like transportation, caregiving supports, or inaccessibility to some places in the community. It is also, like I said before, more private than meeting in public so we can have hard or emotional conversations. On the flip side, technology can be unreliable sometimes, and a lot of people with disabilities aren't given support or training on how to use technology or don't have access to it. Sometimes the first step getting someone connected to others is believing that they're capable of using the technology. We also hear a lot of caregivers and guardians of people with disabilities are afraid that people with disabilities will be unsafe if they are connected online or have even a cell phone. So we have to break down the bias and give people with disabilities the same training and support about online safety that everyone else gets. And people who support us and family members or other people of support need to respect our privacy online and can't micromanage our connections the same way that they shouldn't do that offline or in person.
Thank you. That was a big scoopful. Honestly, I was just on a call yesterday where we were talking about all kinds of transportation problems, and one of the people on the call had said something about, when she was in college, they had these transportation Facebook groups. And because we were talking about older adults and people with disabilities, everybody went, like, we couldn't possibly do that. But that's our bias, right? And to be able to watch for that and be cognizant of where that unnecessary urge to protect people who are fully capable adults arises. So I really thank you for that point. That was so important.
You're welcome.
I remember going to I have to do ethics and boundaries every couple years for my licensure, and I went to one particular ethics and boundaries that was in the context of technology. And the instructor shared a longitudinal study that has been going on with college freshmen. And what they have discovered is that as the use of screen time has increased, the capacity for empathy has decreased. And they have described that as we're not using our mirror neurons in our brain, which when we look at each other in the face, in person, informs our brains around how other people might be feeling, and you don't have the same capacity on the screen. So I throw that out as one of the challenges I think that we face with our technological opportunities, and that we talk about balance in so many arenas. Eat a balanced diet, have some good amount of balance in your physical body, and I'm wondering how you feel like balance has a place in technology. Anybody who wants to go.
Well, I think with all good things in life, like walking the razor's edge is critical. Without technology, in the we're all, laborers in the fields, subsistence farming, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think to what you said earlier, the speed of technology creates multiple opportunities for us to fail. And if anybody's familiar with Jonathan Haidt, he's a thinker and a college professor. He's been very, very critical. He says that young women in particular have been most susceptible to technology and screen time, and 300% increase in cutting, anxiety, and depression, just generationally. So, but yeah, balance is critical.
Yeah, I would agree with what Josiah said. I think that the great thing working with our older adult community is they see technology through a much more skeptical eye, which I think is healthy. And they tend to use technology in a much more balanced way. I don't know if that is out of habit or skepticism, but it's a blessing and a curse because I think the more you use it, the more comfortable you become in using it, and the more adept you are at using it. But on the other hand, I think that the community that we're serving and that we're seeing tends to have a more healthy balance. I don't see them leaving our classrooms with the phone as a 5-inch extension of their hands. It's put away in a bag. You don't see them walking with the poppet between their fingers to like have it be part of their persona. So I see that as a very healthy sign. But I think it is also, like Josiah said, a real delicate balance of the more you use it, the more comfortable you become using it, but you don't want to tilt that scale enough that you become incredibly dependent upon it and that it influences your sense of self-worth and self-esteem and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. And I see my teenage grandkids using the phone constantly, and not interacting on a face-to-face. I think that has led to a lot of bullying in the schools. It's easier to, pick somebody apart online when you're not looking at them than when you do it face-to-face. I think that's increased. And like I said, those kids couldn't order a pizza by phone, by calling in if their life depended on it because they don't know how to talk and complete a sentence. I think it's true too, if they're not talking, just conversing with somebody face-to-face, if they're doing it all by text, you do lose a lot of how that other person feels or, what your words might mean to that person. So I think all of that has to be done carefully. And I know the kids just don't give it a thought. They just go ahead and use their phones all the time. And I think it does have a great place in society. I just think it does definitely need to be balanced.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Christy?
Being on the younger end of the spectrum, I'm much more comfortable with technology, and I actually find it more helpful because I have anxiety talking over the phone to people that I don't know or haven't met before. So being able to text somebody is a lot easier for me.
Yeah. And that's the balance, right? I'm excited about all that you are bringing to people with disabilities and older people in this arena. But I'm also thinking that I have a new theory going based on this conversation, which is all new cultural technology. What's another word I'm looking for? Waves of new ways of being should be tried in older adults first. And then we'll let the kids have them. I'm just throwing a theory out there. It's been a wonderful conversation. I thank you all for the work you're doing and for sharing with us. And I think we're just about ready to wrap up for the next portion. Is that true?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes, thank you so much, Helen, for facilitating all of your great nuggets, and Josiah, Christy, Kristen, and Chris for sharing all of your great insights as well. It's really interesting and I think important to hear from different populations about how technology impacts connection. I think this is such a great conversation to have, and there's so much more out there about technology that we still have to learn. Myself as a parent of a toddler, there's research out there about parents ignoring their children and staring at their phones and the impact that has on children. So I think it's a conversation that we're going to continue to have in the years to come. So thank you all for sharing all of the great information and being here today. We are going to launch our second poll of the day, and then I'm going to share some resources and we'll get into some Q&A. Poll question, I understand how technology programs can provide social connection opportunities for older adults and people with disabilities. Looks like the results are slowing down. I'll give a few more seconds. All right, looks like 90% of us say yes and 10% somewhat. Awesome. Again, thank you all for sharing all the great resources. Just wanted to share a few more. Erin is going to drop the links for these in the chat. So the first resource I wanted to share related to technology is the WISTech program, which provides assistive technology devices and services throughout Wisconsin to people of all ages who have disabilities. So you can learn about device demonstration, loans, reutilization, financing, and get some assistance. The other resource I wanted to share is from Commit to Connect, the same organization that runs the Nationwide Network of Champions. They have a list of resources for learning tech skills, accessible tech tools, and getting access to phone and internet services and more. Other resource I came across is in partnership with the Foundation for Social Connection. It's called Hey You. It's claims to be the world's smallest social network. So it's interesting. I haven't participated in myself, would be interested if anyone has, if you want to share that in the chat, but it basically allows you to build a relationship with one person, one call once a week for 1 month. So deepens conversations and allows you to talk with someone on a deeper level. So something interested, encourage you to check that out. And then finally, the Wisconsin Literacy. So they have resources related to digital literacy, which teaches technical skills, computer, smartphone, tablet use, email, communication via virtual platforms, and critical thinking skills, efficient online searching, problem solving with technology, and internet safety. So I encourage you to check out those resources related to technology. We do have some time for questions, so I encourage you to turn on your cameras, but again, please remain muted unless you're talking. You can put your questions in the chat or come off of mute and ask your questions for our panelists. I see a question in the chat. Is anyone familiar with technology training courses or groups for older adults and individuals with disabilities in the Green Bay area? Any of our panelists know, or if anyone else in the chat knows, feel free to respond to Jenna's question. I am not personally.
This is Helen, and I would just refer you to your Aging and Disability Resource Center. Brown County has a fabulous one, so if anybody knows, they are likely to know.
I will second that. They do have a great Aging and Disability Resource Center. See a comment from Katie to check with Bug Tussle. Another comment to check with local tech colleges, another great one. They oftentimes hold some trainings as well.
Am I the only one who doesn't know what Bug Tussle is?
I believe it's an internet service provider. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Katie. They have that around me. Reason I am working here at my library today, so you don't have to deal with all my slow internet like yesterday. And Katie says they hold trainings for aging adults as well. Awesome. Any questions for Josiah, Christy, Kristen, or Chris? Kristen, I see another resource to check out, seniorplanet.org for free online classes. That's great. Maybe a few more seconds, see if any questions come in. Okay, well, not seeing anything. So again, thank you to our panelists. We are going to jump into the discussion portion of our webinar for today, but we are going to do this in a different way. So this is going to be a build your own webinar, and Erin is going to launch a poll to determine what we want to do for our discussion. Do you want to do small group breakout room discussions? or a large group whiteboard discussion. So I'll give some time for everyone to respond to that. And we'll go with the majority. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end that. Looks like we want to do a large group discussion. So I am going to jump into it. But before I do that, actually, so the discussion for the day was to reflect on the the 5-for-5 Surgeon General's Social Connection Challenge. So I've been reflecting on my challenge the past few days. So I'll just take this opportunity to do that again. Yesterday, my connection challenge was to call my husband's grandma. And I did that yesterday to ask her if she wanted to join me to the indoor winter farmers market tomorrow, or if there's anything I could pick up for her. And it was really good to chat with her for a little bit. I could kind of tell she was smiling after I called her, and we chatted for a bit about the farmers market. And then my son said hi to her, which they absolutely adore each other. So it's fun for him to talk on the phone with her for a little bit. We chatted about some other random stuff. So we chatted for about 5-10 minutes and then made a commitment to connect on Saturday after the farmers market. So again, I really encourage you to still participate in this 5-for-5 connection challenge, either the rest of this week or in future weeks. But we are going to go into a large group discussion. So before I open this up, this is something new. I've done this once or twice with Zoom before, but we're using technology today. This is what it's all about. So in a minute or so, I'm going to open up a discussion board. It's going to look something like this. And you'll see here on the screen this arrow that's pointing to this very small little T. So when this opens up, you can use your cursor to click on this T, and that is going to open up a text box. So it's going to be this kind of interactive whiteboard that we can all participate in and maybe struggle a little bit together with doing this. But again, once I open this up, you will click on this T here and a text box will pop up and we'll all be able to see our answers in real time. And if you don't want to use this or can't figure it out at the moment, feel free to put your responses in the chat as well. But let me open this up. I'm going to stop sharing. Give me a second to open it. Okay, so at the top here as well, where it says how many people are following me, continue to follow me. Don't click that stop button. And then go ahead and click on that text box and put your response. This will be kind of that tester question. So what is your favorite thing to do in your spare time? So you should be able to see responses in real time here. Let me know if you can't. We'll give some time for everyone to do this practice one here. So I see the first response running. Awesome. Again, feel free to use the chat for this. Helen, you're getting an error message. Is everybody else getting an error message as well? Okay, I'm seeing some responses in the chat. Let's see.
Somebody mentioned they have view only mode.
Let me try to mitigate. Only. I know you can test something so many times. I see some responses on here, so I'm not sure what's happening.
I think I'm adding them all, Suzanne.
Oh,
I'm seeing some of them in the chat and just adding them to the board.
okay. Well, I'm not seeing how to change the settings to allow other people to try one more thing here. Well, someone's drawing. Oh, I think I figured it out. How does it look now?
Oh, I see
Okay.
somebody else typing. That's good.
There we go. You never know what you're going to get with technology. That's why it's a practice one. Okay, so again, what is your favorite thing to do in your spare time? We're just practicing here. So seeing the responses coming in now, being outdoors, gardening, bake, reading, scrapbooking, running, pictures, spending time with family, woodworking, fun, spending time with my husband and 2 puppies, spending time with grandkids, time with people, board games, yoga, gardening, cooking and eating. Gotta love eating. Going out to eat with my family. Okay. I am going to switch it over to a new page. Hopefully I don't lose everyone now. Can everyone see this next question? So how did it feel doing the 5 for 5 connection challenge this week? Or if you didn't participate in the challenge, how did you stay connected this week? So I encourage you to share your responses to that. Again, in the chat or on the screen. So I see great to cat. Okay, it looks like someone's still typing. Spend time with family, awesome. Give people some more time to do this. Planning a gathering for Tunnish friends on Saturday. Haven't seen most of them in a long time. That sounds amazing. Visited my husband's grandma, awesome. Texted friends and family. I did a lot of that this week as well. Learned lots of new information, awesome. Hopefully all week at the Awareness Week Summit, maybe in other places. Great to catch up with friends. Made a lunch date with my daughter, awesome. Any other ways that you stayed connected this week? Okay, then we're going to move on to the last one for the day. See Facebook Messenger in the chat. So how will you commit either personally or within your organization to increase social connections for older adults and people with disabilities? So I'll give some time for people to respond to that. I know that's a kind of a bigger question, but taking everything that you've learned from this week or other things that you know about this topic, how will you commit to increase social connections? Love that first response, to participate in the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection. Ooh, someone figured out a shape. I like that. Again, you can click on that T text on the left-hand side to get the text box. I get to do this for work, so it's easy. Love that. Continue supporting the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection and the fabulous work of the 32 grantees. Taking our classes and programs to communities that don't drive. So I talk a lot about transportation in this space, so that's great. Send a weekly update to my grandparents and ask how they're doing. I love that. Connect with Opportunities Inc. to see how we can partner. Awesome. Looking into starting Senior Planet at my center. That's great as well. What else? How else can you commit to connect past this week? Continue advocating and connecting with people with disabilities. Maybe leave this up for 5, 10 more seconds. Give some more people a chance to respond. Schedule connections in my calendar. I love that. Making that really intentional. Awesome. Well, thank you all for bearing with me with using this technology. I see another one work on doing more virtual programming, which is great. We're all in this together, and I appreciate you bearing with me with that. I'm just going to wrap us up now. Again, thank you all for participating this week in the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connections Awareness Week Summit. Really encouraging you to join that nationwide network of champions, engaging with Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection. The recording for this webinar will be sent out within the next week, and it'll also be made available on our website, like I said. Again, I want to thank our awareness ad hoc committee for helping to plan this summit and everyone joining for this week of learning, networking, and connection. And again, please complete that evaluation for this webinar, which will open in your browser after you close out. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your Friday and good weekend.